Welcome everyone to Zoom Virtual Backgrounds for Beginners. We'll give people a few minutes to join in. Uh, we have a good sized group today, so we might need to mute your microphone if we pick up any stray noise or some of these computer microphones are really sensitive. We have Joe from Get Set Up. He's my teaching assistant today. He'll be monitoring chat. He'll be answering any technical questions that might come up. If there's issues that we can help out with in chat, feel free to post something in chat as well. I see a couple of people. Jack, you've got a virtual background set up already. What? So you ready to help me with class, Jack? Because I could use. Go ahead and unmute yourself. I couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Got that up there once. I don't know how to get up there again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. I see some familiar names. Welcome back, all of you that have taken classes from me before. Joe's going to watch our meeting room for our waiting room. Zoom, as you know, has a lot of features. One thing I want to point out with Zoom is if you are using the desktop version, at the bottom of your screen, you will see a button called Reactions. And if you, this is practice right now, so you aren't going to make any mistakes. If you click on the Reactions button, you see like an applause, a thumbs up, a heart, and there should be a raise hand symbol as well if you have the latest version of Zoom. And so if you raise your hand, it gives you a way to raise your hand in class as well. So it's a good little trick to use during a Zoom meeting for anything. And so I never know when people are trying to get my attention or what they're doing. So I will make sure we pause frequently to answer questions as we go through things. Because with a little bit larger group, it helps to pause and for question and answer periods. But I will pause. Like I won't go more than a couple of slides there. Christine, you have a question. Thank
Yes,
you
I
for
do.
raising your hand.
I don't know what you. I don't. I'm on a Chromebook, and I've been.
Okay.
Am I still going to be able to do the backgrounds? Google says I can't.
Yeah, Google is right. One of the first things we do after the introductory slides is I do go through over the Zoom has system requirements to use virtual backgrounds. Chromebooks let you use Zoom, but they use it through a web browser. In order to use the virtual background feature, you have to download and install the Zoom app, and Chromebooks do not allow you to do that. So unfortunately, Chromebooks do not support. While you can attend a Zoom meeting, you cannot use the Zoom virtual background feature.
I have an icon in my taskbar that is the Zoom.
Right, but
that's not the app, though.
It's not the full Zoom app. No, yeah, Zoom. And part of it's because you're caught in this technology competition. Google has something, for meetings as well, and they're competitors with Zoom. And so, Zoom doesn't want to make it too easy for Chromebook users to use Zoom, and Google doesn't want to make it too easy for Chromebook users to use Zoom. And so you're kind of caught in this thing. But some apps just don't work on Chromebooks, like Microsoft Office apps, for example, like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. They do have a web version, but you can't download and install the desktop version. So,
well, if there's nothing, I guess I'm going to step out then. I was told that I Googled it before I got on. It's like, and it says no. So
no, yeah, and it really is it's not a soft, gentle no. It's
like no.
It's no.
It's like
because I know you thought, hey, maybe it's no, but I'll ask. And
but exactly, I mean, exactly.
Joining us, yeah. But if you have an Android phone, it might work on the Android phone, but it won't work.
I have an Android tablet and an Android phone.
It might work on those, but if you use your Chromebook mostly for Zoom meetings, it won't work on the Chromebook.
Okay. Well, that's good to know if I ever get the Chrome on, or if I ever I'm doing this through a volunteer agency that just to
Sure.
keep us going because we can't be in the schools.
I understand. And Chromebooks are inexpensive. They're really useful
They're
for
awesome.
just
I've taken a lot of
unfortunately
classes
not
already.
Zoom
So,
virtual backgrounds. Yeah.
okay, well, I'm gonna bow out then. Thank you so much.
Great, great. Let me walk through a few little introductory slides, and then I want to kind of get an idea of how much experience we have on Zoom virtual backgrounds with people, okay? So we are here for Zoom virtual backgrounds for beginners. Some of you may be more advanced than others. That's okay. We are here. I'm your guide. I'm Bob Cohen. I'm actually based in Seal Beach, which sounds like a small town in California. It is, but it's stuck in the middle of LA and Orange County. So it's just part of the big LA metro area. And I was born in Chicago, so was brought up in the Midwest, went through high school, and then came out to California to go to college, and worked in the tech industry, owned my own internet service company, raised three boys, and lived in Southern California almost the whole time. Did move to Atlanta for a while and lived overseas too. But I kind of like taking on the challenge to try and make technology simpler to understand. Most people that talk about technology are not easy to understand, and I hope I'm not one of them, but we'll be the judge of that. Okay, so I hope we get to a point where we can do some things. If you see me looking from side to side, I'm not a TV newscaster, unfortunately. I wish I were. They're really good at looking directly into the camera and talking to you like you're their personal audience, right? And unfortunately, I have to look at my computer screen to show you some things. I look at chat, and I look at the gallery so I can see everybody in case they have a question or raise their hand. But we're a learning environment, right? So you're going to be able to get a recording after class. Let me start the recording now so I don't forget. That's my cue. And if you're joining by live stream, we are live streaming the class. The best way to participate for those of you that are seeing us on Facebook or YouTube or Get Set Up TV, set up an account at getsetup.io. It's free. It's easy. You can register for classes. We have over 300 classes on all kinds of topics, from yoga to cooking to travel to technology. I tend to do the technology ones a little bit more than other types. I don't do yoga, but I do ride a bicycle, so I can talk about that. But there's another great class on bike riding too. And we're not paid to promote specific products, but we're going to mention some things, okay? And we have to do that because we are training people on technology as well, okay? So let me go over our agenda. We're going to talk about minimum hardware and software requirements. Let me get my little red dot here for my mouse so it's a little easier to see. See that little red dot that follows my mouse pointer around? Sometimes it's a little easier to see. We're going to talk about changing and adding virtual backgrounds. We're going to walk through some slides that explain how to do it. Then we're going to see me do it live, and you're welcome to follow along, but I ask you not to get too far ahead of me if you have questions about that, because we'll try and answer everything as we go through the hands-on. I'm going to show you how to do it on a tablet, which works really, really similarly to a smartphone. And I'll explain a little bit of the differences between using virtual backgrounds between desktop, smartphone. And we'll talk about, I'll show you a few websites for background photos as well, if you're not sure where to get them. And we'll actually have a chance to try some things out. Some of you have some virtual backgrounds already, and we'll talk about some challenges, why virtual backgrounds sometimes work better for some people than others, and what causes that to happen too. Okay, so let's get some questions out there. Who's gonna be who's an expert? I see some. Edna, you've got a virtual background running already, right? And Jack, you've got a virtual background. Nelda, Carol, Christine, you do have to have your video on to have a virtual background work. And so if you don't want your video on, that's okay. I understand. But feel free to turn it on if you want to. Anybody other than the Chromebook question that came up, as we mentioned, that Chromebooks don't support virtual backgrounds. Who's trying to solve problems with their virtual backgrounds? Anybody trying to solve? Carol, I can't. Okay. What are you trying to solve a problem with, Carol?
I want to change my background. I don't know how to change it.
You don't know how to change it. Okay, good question. We will cover how to change your background. Okay, and do you know? And you just have to know where to find your photos on your computer. Typically, you can use your own photos for your virtual background. Anybody else have any questions?
That was my question.
Yeah.
How do I find my photos?
Nelda, go ahead, and then I'll get Jack. Go ahead, Nelda.
I said, that was my question too, how to find the photos on my computer, or how to go to a different background, because
Okay.
This is the only one I can find, and it's because it's right there.
Okay, all right. We'll show you how Zoom sets them up for you, and then Jack, you had a question.
How to change the background.
Change it. Okay, interesting that people want to know how to change. Well, that's good. And Anne, you have your hand up. Thank you for using the reaction.
Well, yeah, my problem is I got two computers and I just bought a new one and stuff. And when I went on there, you answered with the other lady who had left, but I didn't know how to get it. It said that I didn't have it on here. I just get none. And I was looking for a virtual background. Now you say I have to go into the app I have to get the app to be able to use it.
You do have to use the Zoom application on your computer. So if you go to zoom.us, and maybe Joe can go over that and post something to where to download Zoom, okay, in the chat. But you do need to download the Zoom app in order.
Okay, see, that's it. I got the Zoom.us on there, but I still don't have the background.
Yeah, you have to download the application to your desktop or mobile device in order to use virtual backgrounds. And so yeah, I maybe that's something that Help It Get Set Up can help you out, after class if you're not sure how to download it. And they can make sure you've got, because you're going to need it for well, you can use Zoom as a website. But in order to use virtual backgrounds and other features in Zoom, you do need to download the application. And Help It Get Set Up can help you out with that too.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Yeah, is there an address for that?
I'm sorry, who had that question?
Is there an address for that Zoom to download? I don't know how to get back on Zoom again.
Well, you have a virtual background on there now, Carol, so you already have downloaded the app on your computer. Okay, so you're using the application already. Sometime when you open up a Zoom application, it'll ask you if when you open up a Zoom meeting, it'll say, do you want to open up the Zoom app? And that's when you open up the app. And so usually Zoom will have you download the application. So if you need help with downloading the application, I do recommend if you go to just contact someone at helpitgetsetup.io, because you're going to want to have it for all your meetings anyway to make sure, and they can help you check to make sure your Zoom application is the latest and up to date too. Okay.
We go to setup.
No, just send an email to help@getsetup.io.
Help. Okay.
Okay, help@getsetup.io. They're kind of the universal, way to contact, and just tell them you want to make sure that you've got the latest. That you just want to make sure Zoom is working right for you for your meetings, because it's how you get into all your meetings. Okay. All right. So let me share a few things about green screens. We are going to cover green screens. I actually have a green screen physically, and I'm going to explain what a green screen is, okay, pretty soon. Okay, so one of the things I want to make you aware of is that Zoom does have some requirements for using virtual backgrounds. The Zoom meeting service will work pretty flexibly on most any kind of device, including a Chromebook. But in order to use the virtual background feature, you need a little more horsepower. It's kind of like driving a car on a flat road. And then when you start to go uphill, the car is going to slow down unless you put more gas. And at some point, you know, I had an older car one time, and no matter how hard I pushed down on the gas pedal, it would only go so fast up the hill. Your computer's got an engine in it. It's called your processor. And smartphones, tablets, and computers all have CPUs or processors in them. And Zoom does have a website that tells you what the virtual background requirements are for, or the equipment requirements for using virtual backgrounds. So I'm going to try and explain this as simply as I can, but unfortunately they put a lot of technical terminology in there, and I can't avoid that. So as I scroll up here, one of the things you'll see, and I'm going to use my little drawing tools here, so excuse me a second while I get them set up. Windows, Mac, Linux. Anybody have a Linux machine? Most people don't. Most technical people do, but most people don't have a Linux. iOS, that's iPads and iPhones, and Android. Zoom will work on all of those devices if you have a fast enough CPU in your computer or device for it. That's the main thing. The reason is that when you're using virtual backgrounds, now this is my excellent, fantastic drawing skills, okay? So I apologize for them. Let's say you are in a meeting and you're on Zoom here, and you've got a smile on your face, okay? And you've got your camera over here on your computer or smartphone, and your camera is looking and taking in all of this information, but also what's in back of you. Okay, so you might have a bookshelf, you might have a chair, you might have a wall with paintings on it or pictures. And all of this is what is on your video screen when you're on Zoom, right? Okay, it's the real background. Your camera is just looking at what's behind you and saying, I gotta put that up there. Virtual backgrounds is a software feature that says, wait a second, Bob, when you want to start using virtual backgrounds, I'm going to eliminate what's really behind you, and I'm going to replace it with a picture that I get. And the picture I get is going to be from somewhere on your computer, okay, or your smartphone or your tablet. So Zoom Virtual Backgrounds has this magic feature that says, oh, I'm going to replace what's behind you or me or whoever is using it, and I'm going to put a picture instead up on the screen. It's used by TV production a lot, and hopefully my illustration has made it clearer what's going on. It's software that does it. Software makes this happen. So your camera can tell, wait a second, I know what's behind Bob, but the software says, I'm gonna just get rid of that and replace it with a picture. And you have to have a fast enough computer in order to make that happen. So there's something called a green screen. Okay, I'm going to show you what a physical green screen looks like. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to show you my physical green screen behind me. I have a piece of green fabric. This is really a green screen. This is a piece of fabric. It's all green. And what it makes it easier for the software to do is says, hey, instead of just replacing what's really behind Bob, I can just pay attention to what's the color green and replace anything that's green. It makes it simpler for the software to do the job. That's why there's this thing called a green screen, okay? Because it makes it simpler for people, for the software to do its job. So there is a technical requirement with a green screen and a technical requirement without a green screen. Whew. Boy, that was a long way to explain that. Does it make sense to everybody the way I explained it? That, okay, you have like one level of technology that has to work. Okay, so if you have a computer and then you have one level with a green screen, and then you have to have an even faster computer without a green screen. That's kind of what's going on. So you're asking your computer to just do a lot of work. So what it's going to give you, and I apologize for this, I can't change it. It's going to tell you with Windows and Macs and iPhones and iPads, it's going to tell you need first of all, the Zoom desktop software. You need usually the latest version. I don't know what version we're at, but Joe posted the download link. Don't download it now, but after class, you can check it. You need the version 5.2. You need the desktop version, and it supports Windows 7, 8, and 10. And it works with these processors, Intel i3, 5th generation, 2 cores, okay? How do you know if your computer has that? Look up the model number, find the model number of your computer on the case. There should be a little tag or a sticker, or find it on the receipt, and just do a Google web search, and you'll typically find the HP site or the Lenovo site or something that tells you what is inside your processor. We do go through how to tell what processor is in your computer in the Windows settings class that I teach. It's under about. And then if you have an AMD model, has to be 8 cores. A core is just one more processor on the chip. Now, we're at about the 10th generation right now of Intel's chips. Every year they come up with a new generation. And so we are, you can probably use it with a 4 or 5-year-old computer if it's this fast a processor. So typically, if you bought a budget computer, it might not have it. Now, sometimes having the green screen means you can use it with a slower computer. Video's more demanding, so we're not going to go into video too much because this is a beginner's class. Macs, generally, a Mac that's a 4 or 5-year-old Mac will work just fine. iPhones and iPads. If we get down here to iPhones, an iPad Pro, a 5th or 6th generation iPad, an iPhone 8 won't work with an iPhone 7. So generally, again, about 4 or 5-year-old technology will work. Android's a little more complicated because there's so many different Android phones. And it tells if you've got a higher end Android phone, but only certain manufacturers it works with. Now, it'll work with the phone or the tablet as long as it's a processor, that supports 8 cores. And that usually means it's at the higher end of the Android price range, because those are more expensive computers. But it's like, you don't need a racing car, but you need something with a decent enough engine that'll get you up the hill. And that's what this is trying to tell you, okay? Any questions about the Zoom virtual, background system requirements? The other way to do it is just to try it out, see if it works. So we're going to do that too, okay?
Bob, does the green screen have to be a certain size?
No, this is a screenshot I took. Thank Christine for queuing up my next slide. I appreciate that when students help me out. The green screen just needs to be big enough so that it covers up everything behind you that the camera will see. Now, cameras have different angles, okay? So some cameras have a very narrow angle of view, and others have a very wide view, okay? Most of our webcams on our computers have a wide view. So that means if you used one of these, there's these green screens that strap onto the back of a chair. If you're really close up to your computer, it might work, but generally mine is about as wide as my reach of my arms. So I guess that's about what, 5 feet or so, roughly. And so I'd recommend something that's a little wider. They don't need to be too tall, but whatever your camera sees, that is what you want it to replace. And so you can move the green screen closer to being behind you, and that will help if you have a smaller one. The fabric of a green screen is not real expensive. Okay, you can find them for like $15. But if they have a stand that's like a roll-up stand or a hanger or something like that, those are what get expensive. And it's just a matter of you could go to Joann's and get a piece of green fabric, but you want something really, really bright green, okay? Because for some reason, cameras seem to be able to pick up and separate the bright green color better than they can other colors. That's it, just as a characteristic of video cameras, that they seem to do it.
So what do you use to hold up yours?
I use a tripod stand that I bought, okay, that has 3 legs and it has a little hook on the top. And my green screen is has a metal frame on it that folds up into a little circle case that I can tuck next to my file cabinet. I mean, I will tell you, I had to watch the YouTube video for how to fold up my green screen about 20 times before I finally got the habit of knowing how to do it. So I would, that's, but they all work pretty much the same way. I would just get something that's about, 5 feet wide, that works. Now you're getting pretty good virtual background as it is. The green screen will make it really sharp if you want that.
Yeah, it's just the head distortion.
Yeah. When you have hair, and I don't have much, but if you have hair, when I have glasses, my glasses, sometimes you'll see the background, and on when I don't use a green screen, and I'm going to show you when we start playing around with virtual backgrounds, how it works with and without a green screen.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. When you want to install a virtual background, okay, you can do it a couple of ways. You can do it with the Zoom app, and you can actually click on the settings gear and select background and filters. Then you click on the plus to find a file on your computer, or you may see some virtual background show up from Zoom. That's one way to do it, is to just, when you're not in the meeting, you can open up the Zoom app. The other way you can do it is when you're start a new meeting anytime, or in a meeting, you can start a new meeting from the Zoom app on your iPhone, your desktop, or your iPad or Android. You just start the Zoom app and you can start new meeting anytime. If you want to play around with virtual backgrounds, it's only going to be you, and then you'll have access to the Zoom controls, okay? So once you know your device works with Zoom, and once you know whether or not that you're going to need to use a green screen from a technical requirement, then you can start trying it out in a meeting. From the desktop, in the desktop, it basically gets to a point where when you start to use the desktop app, you have a camera and a microphone in the lower left-hand corner. When you click on the up arrow on the next to the video camera, a menu pops up and it shows choose virtual background. Now this is a slideshow, a screenshot I took. I'm actually going to share my screen live, but it's much smaller on my screen live. But so I wanted to show you something a little bit more enlarged. When you click on choose virtual background, then you go to, you get a menu that pops up. You get a couple of screens. The first screen that pops up is the settings screen, and it's automatically selected background and filters. Now, at this point, when you try, you may have already gotten a message that says your computer does not support virtual backgrounds, or you may see that you get the Zoom virtual background show up and you see none. You can try clicking I have a green screen to see if you start to see some of the standard images. Zoom supplies about 4 or 5 photos and 2 videos as part of their virtual backgrounds. And this is when you might need to check and download the latest version of Zoom, or, you know, if your computer is not fast enough to do it without a green screen, you might have to use a green screen. So that's why we go over some of the technical requirements first, so that people know what they're running into when they run into these issues, because these issues come up often. So the next step will be, if you want to choose your own virtual background, you would click on the plus button. Then you'll get a little menu like this that will pop up that will say add image or add video. Add image is what we're going to look at live, because then you can select a photo. When you click on add image, it brings up your file folders on your computer. It works a little bit different on mobile devices. Okay, and we get a mix of people here that have both desktops and mobile devices. So if you have to know where you find a photo on your computer. So if you have a photo on your computer in a folder or file, you just select it, click on open, and it'll change your virtual background. That's the steps for the desktop. Any questions about that?
One of the things, does it change it right away, or?
Yes, it'll change it right away. And you'll see live when I demonstrate that it changes it right away. And even when you're in a meeting. Okay. So when it'll show you in this preview, and then you can close this window and go back to your meeting. Okay. Now, mobile devices work a little bit differently. Mobile devices, if your device supports virtual backgrounds, because we got some another questions here. Is it going to affect your speed? Well, if your device is fast enough to support virtual backgrounds, it should work just fine, whether you're using a virtual background or not in a meeting, okay? If your device is fast enough to do it, Zoom should work okay. In a smartphone, you typically will see a menu at the bottom of your phone with 3 dots that say more. On a tablet, on an iPad, you will see, or a tablet, you'll typically see 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner that will say more. When you tap the more button, it brings up the menu for features, and one of those features will say background in it. Might say virtual background, it might say background and other things, but it'll say background. And when you click on virtual background, then on a mobile device, it will ask you for permission for Zoom to access your photos. You have to say yes for the first time you do it. And so in order for the Zoom app to use your photos and virtual backgrounds, you're going to have to give it permission. And then you can select a photo from any of your photos on your device to use as the virtual background. Now, it's when you set up a virtual background on your phone or you set it up on your desktop, it doesn't mean they're going to be the same. You have to do it individually on each device you use with Zoom for the virtual background feature to work. Okay, so let me stop sharing here, and then I'm going to set up my screen so I can show it live to you. Okay. All right. So anybody have any questions before we go live and we start looking at my whole screen? It's going to be a little bit smaller, but if you use the Zoom view options, you can see things a little bit.
I did have a question. How do we get to the screen that you were just working on where you show the 3 little dots for more and all that? How do you get there? I wasn't able, I'm listening to you on my Mac and I was going to do it on my iPad.
Well, you have to be in a Zoom meeting on your iPad. So you can either, if you have the Zoom app on your iPad, you can join a meeting or start a new meeting. You have to be logged into your Zoom account, but you can start a new meeting. If you start a new meeting, you'll see the meeting controls pop up.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay.
I'm trying to find that Zoom app on my iPhone, and there's Zoom Cloud, there's Zoom for Intune, so I don't know which one to get.
I'm not sure if Joe can find the iPhone link for the Zoom app, but you would need to go to the App Store. If you just go to the App Store and you just type in Zoom, it should pop up with Zoom, the main Zoom app for downloading. Okay. Or you can contact help@getsetup.io and they'll send the link. Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So let me share my whole desktop. Things are going to look smaller. Okay. But you can adjust the settings so that they're there. I'm actually watching on my screen as well, so that I can see what you're seeing as well. Let me turn up my annotation here. So on my desktop, I have at the lower left a microphone and a video camera. And there's a really small arrow that I'm going to click on for using my Zoom video controls. And when I click on that arrow, the choose virtual background menu pops up. Okay, so I just click on that to select Zoom virtual backgrounds. There's that screen that we were talking about. And you should, if your computer is fast enough, you can select from some Zoom standard video backgrounds. They supply a few, like the San Francisco Bay Bridge and some grass and a space shot, or you can select ones. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Joe just posted the Zoom link in chat for you. Okay, for iPhones. Now, if you don't have any Zoom virtual backgrounds available, typically that's because your computer may not be fast enough, or you just need to update your Zoom application and download the latest version. Okay, so sometimes it doesn't automatically update. You can go to zoom.us to update that. Or you can try selecting a photo from your computer. If you click on there's my drawing screen. Okay, if you click on the little plus arrow there, that's small, but if you click on that, it will bring up the menu that says add image. Okay, and then I select add image and I click on that. And that's going to bring up the folders on my computer. Okay, so it brings up desktop, documents. So this is where you just need to have a photo somewhere in some folder somewhere in order to use it. So let's see, I think I have this is a sunset photo that I have. And I actually created a folder for backgrounds for Zoom. And it's a good idea to create a folder on your computer and just save any picture you want in that folder so you can find it all the time in case you accidentally delete it or in case you need to replace it for some reason on Zoom. So after I select a picture on my computer and I click open, it'll replace the background right away. Okay, and if I scroll down this menu, it adds it to my choices of virtual background. So when I go back to Zoom, this one is available as a one I can choose if I want to. I don't know how many it'll let you keep in here, but as long as you have the file on your computer, it links to the file. So I know I've deleted the file, I've deleted photos in my computer, and I've lost that photo as a virtual background. So anything you want to use as a virtual background, I recommend creating a folder for it and saving it in that folder. Okay. Should we do that one more time? Just to go.
I can't find my pictures.
Yeah, that is a challenge, yes, is finding pictures on your computer. So looking for your pictures first, find them on your desktop, is a really good thing to do. I recommend you create a folder on your computer and take any photo you think you want to use for a virtual background and put it there so that when you go to the Zoom plus button that says add image, say, oh, I know where I put that. I know what folder I put that in. I tend to put them on my desktop because I use them a lot for a class. But sometimes, whatever, wherever is convenient for you to find it is going to be where you need to locate it if you want to use your own photo. Okay, so the steps are find your video camera, click on the plus button, choose your virtual background set menu, add a plus, click on the plus button, add image, and it'll bring up your options here for your photos. So this was a Rose Parade photo that I took, and it changes it right away. So now I'm standing in front of a float at the Rose Parade. So whatever the picture you have, now I have a green screen. If I take off, you notice when I turn my head, my glasses will typically on the edge, well, I got it right, it will show the color of the background. That's because I have a green screen. If I turn off the button, it says I have a green screen, and I go back to using the photo, you'll notice that sometimes when I turn my head, sometimes it works well, and sometimes it doesn't work so well. Okay. You can see this a little bit. See how my glasses kind of fall off the edge there? The green screen just improves the quality a little bit, okay? Even if you have, and I have a pretty fast computer, and so it tends to do it a little bit better. So,
that is neat.
Okay, let me take any questions. Let me stop sharing here a second so you can see me. Let's see, so.
I have a question.
Yes.
When I go to next to the video camera, the little arrow that points up, when I click on there, the only thing that I'm getting is it says select a camera, integrated webcam, or same as system. Same as system is already checked, but I'm not seeing anything else.
Okay, so then there's two things that could be happening, Diana. One could be that your computer is not fast enough to support virtual backgrounds, or
okay,
you need to update and download the latest version of Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
Using Zoom virtual backgrounds involves not only knowing how to do it on your computer and knowing to select the camera, virtual backgrounds, but also making sure your computer is adequate, has the capacity to use virtual backgrounds as well. So, and because we've had people come into the class with Chromebooks, I just like to make sure people understand they're not going to be able to use it if they don't have a computer that's fast enough. But
I think the computer might be, excuse me. I think the computer might be fast enough because this is a new computer. It's a Dell.
okay.
It's Windows 10. It's the 5J, I think it is. It's the 11th generation. So this is the first time I've used the Zoom on this computer. So maybe I just need to start back from installing the Zoom app and go from there.
Sounds like a good plan.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank
And
you.
have your hand up.
See, I find my pictures on my iPhone, but I can't find them on my computer.
I don't know if I can solve where to find photos, okay, but you'll have to find, if you don't have the photos from your phone on your computer, it involves moving them over. That's something not really we cover in this class, is how to find the photos, but it's something that we do cover in a couple of other classes on moving photos around.
Yeah, I have no idea how to put them on my computer.
Okay, another class topic. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Anne, you have your hand up.
Hi there, Bob. I wasn't able to follow you in all your steps back then. I'm working on an iPad.
We're going to do an iPad now, okay?
Oh,
Okay,
yay.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's a good cue up. So let me go to doing something different on my screen. I'm going to pick up my iPad here. And if you have an iPad or an iPhone or an Android, they all tend to work very similarly. Let me make sure I can share my screen with you. And it's on my iPad screen. Now, here we go. Okay. You're actually seeing the screen on my iPad. I can't point as well or draw things as well on this as I can with my desktop, but if you look at the top of the Zoom screen, you'll see leave and a red button, and then Zoom with a little drop down arrow, and then join audio with a headset, start video, stop share, participants, and then more.
Excuse me, how did you get to that screen? I've got my iPhone opened up. I've touched on the app for Zoom. How do you get to the screen?
Okay, I'm in a meeting. Okay, so in the iPhone, you would need to join the meeting or start a new meeting. Okay.
Yeah, I can't find the start a new meeting anywhere on my iPad.
You would have to be logged into your Zoom account. Okay, so if you are using Zoom on iPad or an iPhone,
right,
you do need to log into your Zoom account in order to start a meeting or
so
join.
Just touching the Zoom icon is not enough.
I'm sorry?
Touching the Zoom icon, to get it activated, that's not enough. You have to go onto the website and log into the website.
You have to log into through the app. The app should ask you to either join a meeting or if it's not giving the ability to start a new meeting, it should be asking you to join a meeting. Okay.
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 It does have to join a meeting and okay, so then I have to try to find where it says log in, huh?
Right. If you join a meeting, it will let you see these controls. If you're not in a meeting and you want to start a new meeting, it will let you just have to be logged into your Zoom account. Okay, so that's
a personal link name, I guess. Join with a meeting ID or with a personal link name.
Right. Yeah, those are some Zoom basic functions that I'd recommend. We have a great class on Zoom for iPad users.
Oh, okay.
So that if you're struggling with how to navigate around Zoom on your iPad, I would recommend that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so now when I tap the more icon, okay, when you're in a meeting or you have any kind on Zoom with your iPad and I tap the more button, it brings up a menu and it brings up the ability for me to select background and filters. It will say something different depending on your device. It might say virtual background, it might just say background, it might say background and filters, but you want to look for the menu listing that says background and filters. Now, this is going to change it to my iPad camera. And you see I have a little menu on the right that says background. Normally it would say none, okay, because if I hadn't started it, and it would tell me Zoom wants permission to access your photos. And I'd have to say yes. Then Zoom can actually go to my photos on my iPad or my phone. So if I tap the plus button, it gives me access to my photos. I was riding my bike around Long Beach and took a photo of downtown. So I can select that photo from my photos album and then tap done. And it will move that photo to my virtual background on my iPad. That photo is not in my virtual backgrounds on my desktop. It's on my iPad. And so each device you have would need a separate one. Now, once you have different backgrounds set up, I can switch by just tapping. You can't see my finger tap, but I'm tapping on the icons to select different virtual backgrounds that I've used if I want to select them. So on iPads and iPhones, it just works a little bit differently than on desktops. When you're in a meeting with your iPhone or iPad and or Android and you tap the More button, you'll be able to select the background and filters option. Okay. iPhones and iPads work, and Androids, mobile devices work a little bit differently, but there's a great iPad Zoom class that I think Vicky Soul teaches, if I'm not mistaken. And you do have to have the video camera on. Okay, so where could you find pictures if you don't want to use your own, or you're looking for choices of pictures, right? I see Edna's got some virtual, and okay, Jack, Adriana, Annette. If you're seeing yourself kind of fade in and out, that's because your computer may not have the processing power to use virtual backgrounds well enough, or it could be the webcam on your computer is not high enough quality. Computer manufacturers sometimes don't have quality webcam, or it could be the lighting you've got for yourself. It is much better on Zoom, and Chris Seidman teaches a great class on how to look like a superstar on Zoom, whether you've got a virtual background or not. I found virtual backgrounds don't make me look any better on Zoom. I look the way I look no matter what virtual background I use. But Chris Seidman teaches a great class on how to look like a superstar on Zoom if you want to look better. And he talks about lighting and backgrounds and other things like that too. Okay, so if you wanted to find photos on Zoom or on the web for using in virtual backgrounds, there are some websites out there that are available. One of my favorites is a website called Pexels, Pexels. They're going to be a link to the email. They let you search for pretty much anything. It's free stock photos and videos that are available for you to download. Yeah, Christine, you got a question? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sorry, I forget to do that. Sorry.
I do too, yeah.
For the Android devices, you do it, you can add the virtual background basically the same way as you do for an iPad.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
The mobile apps for Android, iPhone, and iPad all work very similarly, right? When you join a meeting and you're in a meeting and you tap on those three dots you'll see a menu. What some people have told me on the classes with their Android device, they don't see the virtual background menu.
Right.
That means their device may not support virtual backgrounds.
And apparently mine does not. Okay.
Zoom is pickier about Android, so some
I give
models
up.
don't do it at all. But I download the app again just to make sure
Okay.
that you have the latest version of the app on your Android device and check
Okay.
that before you give up.
Well, this has been, it really has been helpful.
I
Thank
can't
you.
find my photos on my,
Okay, Joe, could you mute everyone? We're getting a little background noise. Thank you. Okay, so Pexels is a free stock photo website. I actually teach a class on finding free photos on the web. But Pexels, if you were looking for a, cottage garden, oh, let me get my search in there. I can type in cottage garden and just click return, and it'll do a search for cottage gardens. And if I wanted to find one that I liked, well, this one looks interesting. I can click on the download button here, and I can say thanks to Maria. I will usually go and donate $1 because I'm using this in a class, but it's strictly optional for you whether you want to donate or not. So I've downloaded the photo to my computer, and I'm going to put it where I can find it a little bit easier, okay, on my desktop. So now, if I want to install this as a virtual background, I go share my screen, okay? And I go to my video camera, select the up arrow, choose virtual background, select the plus button, select add image. Steps are the same over and over and over again. And here's my Maria Orlova picture that I downloaded. Just have to make sure you can find it. That's the hardest part sometimes. And there's the background, okay, for my virtual background. So it looks like I'm standing. And so now I have to give weathercasters really great credit. They know how to point to things the right way. It's really hard when you're doing it this way. So Pexels will be in the link for as a option for you to be able to use it for virtual backgrounds and be able to select virtual backgrounds. A lot of it's a matter of trying it out, see how it looks. If it's new to you, try it out a few times. The steps are pretty much the same over and over again for you to use virtual backgrounds on your computer. So let me wrap up a few slides and then we'll take some questions, okay? So, I do recommend if you're still learning your way around Zoom, the Zoom for beginners, there's advanced Zoom, learning more about Zoom on your particular device. I don't know if we do an Android Zoom class, but the mobile ones work pretty similarly. There is an Android class we do. You're going to get an email with class notes and links to websites, some recommendations for some classes, some feedback that you can provide for the class. If we have a larger class, and so sometimes with a larger one, we can't get to all the questions, and we have to make sure we cover a lot of the material that's necessary so people know what we're going to be making sure we cover everything for every level in class. And we tell friends about the class, share a class, and you can always request a recording at getsetup.io just by sending an email to help. And if you need help with some of the Zoom settings, because we use Zoom on all of our meetings as well. So let's see, and you have your hand up patiently, okay, on your iPad. I see you have a virtual background. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Here I am. My background, when I look into my iPad, it's reversed in the background. I have someone's name up there from the Met. But when I see it, when you put the gallery of all of us, it's reversed. It's the correct way on your background. But on my background, the wording is reversed. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. On iPhones and iPads and Androids with the mobile device, sometimes the picture will be mirrored.
Okay.
On desktops, one of the options on that background screen is to mirror, and it's usually only an issue with text, like Nelda's text. You can see her text is appearing correctly in the gallery. But if I go to my virtual background feature here and I go to mirror my video, it's reversed, okay? But the desktop has that option on iPhones and iPads. You just have to make sure the picture is correctly oriented in the photo album.
All right.
And it may look funny to you in the photo, but it looks it looks right to us on Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. So I see some people that didn't have virtual backgrounds before now have them up. So that's good that you tried them out. Okay.
I did get mine on my iPad. My computer is not fast enough, so you led me through the whole iPad one, and so now I have a virtual background, but I'm not on class in that. I'm just
okay, Georgianne, but you're able to do it. Good. Okay, great. Thank you. That's great to know. Yeah, it's very, it's tough to cover a lot of different devices, but because we're just covering some basics of virtual backgrounds for people, and obviously if you can get a photo on your device, you can use that for virtual background. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all. Any other questions before we wrap up?
Excuse me, Bob. There was a question from Nelda.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. There's a question from Nelda. She asked, how do I go to Zoom for Intune? I don't know what she's referring to. I think she's referring to iTunes.
No. You put up, Joe, you put up a Zoom for iPhone, and I went to that. And I just asked you, do I go to the Zoom for Intune? Because I didn't know which one to go to. But anyway, I'll figure that out. Thank you.
Okay, Nelda. Okay, thanks, Nelda. Okay, yeah, if you need help, go to send an email to help@getsetup.io, because they want to make sure they can help you out with getting Zoom working on any device, because we use that for all of our meetings. Okay, thanks. I love your backgrounds, everybody. Take care and hope to see you soon. And
thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.